Thank you very much. As Kara said, my name is Anica, and today I'll be talking about a project that I'm doing that is funded by the British Council, and it's co-led by Brenda Kiema at Tangaza University in Nairobi, Kenya. The project is all about identifying how to support Kenyan universities in becoming more disability inclusive. For that, our project has two phases. We are in the midst of phase one, which is data collection, talking to disabled staff and students at our 5 partner universities, plus a couple of universities beyond that, through interviews, but we're also doing surveys with staff and students who do not have disabilities to understand their viewpoints on disability inclusion, on support needed, or even understanding what some of the challenges might be. The second phase, which we'll start going into in December, is about developing training. And as one of our participants said, a Kenyanized training, so that fits the local context in order to support universities to do better for their disabled staff, to do better for their disabled students, and to create a more inclusive research environment. For us, that means for all the researchers who work on human, with human subjects, to consider how to make their research inclusive so that disabled participants can be full participants in any kind of research project. So those are our aims. What have we found so far? As I said, we're in the midst of data collection. Well, the first thing is the numbers are low. So there are few disabled students and way fewer disabled staff. So there are a few universities that may have 300, 400, 500 staff members, but only 1 or 2 of them have a declared and disclosed disability. The other thing is that so far, a lot of the support that universities provide is very focused on few disabilities. We have a lot of sight loss provisions. We have some physical disability provisions, and we have support for students with hearing loss who are part of the DDAF community. For instance, neurodiversity, other forms of invisible disabilities are often not included. Challenges for disabled students also include that they can often not choose what they want to study. If they want to study certain subjects, first the university has to agree, and in some cases even the government has to give permission for them to study. So many disabled students are pushed into studying media and communication or special needs education related studies, whether or not they want to do so. It is done so because there is a belief that these subjects can better cater for different needs. Another challenge we've seen is how adaptations for exams are done. There are some universities that, for instance, produce everything in Braille for blind students, whereas some universities say, well, the future of work isn't, their future in work isn't going to be Brailled, so they take a different approach, teaching students how to use assistive technology and say, you need to learn how to use a computer, because many who come in from blind schools don't have the knowledge of how to use screen readers and so forth. What happens in these adaptations in exams is that even the questions are changed to make them easier, because there's a feeling that that's what exam adaptations is supposed to be. So those are some of the challenges. As I said, staff are with disabilities, very hard to find and very few. At the same time, universities are really trying. I've met with a university in central Nairobi who couldn't afford to put in a lift to their 10-story building, so they put in a 10-story ramp that goes all around the building. That they say they want to put in a lift, but at the moment they just can't afford it. So this is an interim, but at least everyone who is a wheelchair user can get up to classes on the 10th floor. And others are making arrangements, trying to put in all kinds of ramps. Others have changed the aesthetics. They had cobblestones to make things look nicer, took them all out because they realized it's difficult for walking cane, wheelchair users, but also for blind and visually impaired people using a white cane. So there are lots and lots of changes happening. But what is most obvious when we look at is that as part of our solutions, first they need to be very practical, very much on the ground, steps people can take. How can we teach staff in teaching inclusively? What can we do in order to get everyone involved and know tiny things that don't cost any money but make a huge difference? For instance, one university taught their cleaning staff not to move plant pots. Why? Because their blind students use them as orientation to know where in the building they are. So if the pot is moved, they can't find their classroom as easily. So these kind of adaptations. But more importantly, we really see that the entire ecosystem needs to change, because many students come in from special schools and are not used to being in mainstream educational environments. And more importantly, many can't find jobs afterwards. Many universities talk about that their disabled students may be able to get placement internships, but in comparison to all the other students, they never get a job offer out of it.
1 minute, Anica.
So without looking at what happens before and what happens after, creating a more inclusive higher education isn't going to serve those students well. And that's where we are at the moment. We, as I said, are going into phase 2 in a couple of months and developing these trainings, testing them with our smaller group of universities with the idea that hopefully in the future we can roll it out to across Kenya and hopefully beyond. So thank you.